tutorial series of the operating system. I am your instructor Varshata. Let's start our lecture series. So topics to be covered in today's lecture, that is priority scheduling. Okay, so till now we are discussing about the scheduling algorithm. So today we will learn about what is priority scheduling. Okay, so first of all, before starting the priority scheduling, let's recall the shortest job first scheduling. Now, what will be there? What was there in the shortest job first scheduling? So, in the shortest job first scheduling algorithm, the priority of process is generally the inverse of the CPU burst time. Okay, for example, larger the burst time, the lower the priority. Okay, so in shortest job first scheduling, the process which has the shortest burst time, that process will go for the execution. Okay, so now in the case of the priority scheduling, the priority is not always set as the inverse of the CPU burst time. It is not every time same like that in the shortest job first. Okay, rather it can be internally or externally set, but yes, the scheduling is done on the basis of the priority of the process, where the process which is the most urgent is processed first, followed by the ones with the lesser priority in the order. Okay, there are many reasons because of that the priority is set in the priority scheduling. It is not always like that the shortest job first, in the shortest job first, the higher burst time process will get the lower priority. That is not possible in the priority scheduling. It may be possible that the process has the highest burst time, but its priority is first for the execution. That also can happen in the priority scheduling. Now here, in priority scheduling, process with the same priority are executed in FCFS manner. Okay, so if the multiple process have the same priority, then they will be treated as FCFS. That means first come first serve. That means we will consider the arrival time for that particular process. The priority of the process when internally defined, it can be decided based on the memory requirement. Okay, it can be decided based on the time limits that require the process for the execution, then number of the open files that required by that particular process, and ratio of the input output burst to the CPU burst, etc. So these are the numbers of parameter basis on which the priority of the process is decided by the operating system. Whereas the external priorities are set, that is based on the criteria outside the operating system. Okay, like the importance of the process, funds paid for the computer resource use, etc. So these are the external priority, and these are the internal priority. So internal priority criteria, and these are the external priority criteria. Now, the types of priority scheduling algorithm. So, priority scheduling algorithm again have a two type, which are the preemptive priority scheduling and non-preemptive priority scheduling. Now, all of you are aware about this term, that is what is preemptive and what is non-preemptive. So, let's have a look at this. What is the meaning of the non-preemptive priority scheduling? In the case of the non-preemptive priority scheduling algorithm, if a new process arrives with the higher priority, and if any process is there in the execution with the longest burst time, then also that process will not preempted from the CPU. Why? Because we are following the non-preemptive priority scheduling. Okay, so if any process come with the higher priority than the current running process, the incoming process is put at the head of the ready queue, which means that after the execution of the current process, it will be processed, but the current running process will not be preempted from the CPU. So that is what the non-preemptive priority scheduling. Now, what is the preemptive priority scheduling? It is exactly reverse of the non-preemptive. If the new process arrived at the ready queue has the highest priority, then currently running process will be preempted from the CPU, and newly arrived with the high priority process will go for the execution. So that is known as the preemptive priority scheduling. Okay. Now, let's start with the non-preemptive priority scheduling. Here, the selection criteria. So, the selection criteria, that means the process has the highest priority that will be served first. Okay, decision mode, here we are considering the non-preemptive priority scheduling. So, decision mode is non-preemptive. That means the process will not be preempted from the CPU until it completes its execution. Now implementation, that is based on the first come for first in first out. The strategy can be implemented by using the shorted first in first out. Shorted, that means you should have to sort the process according to the priority. All the processes in the queue are sorted based on their priority with the highest priority access or of the at the front end. Okay, so all the processes in the queue are sorted based on their priority. Okay, lowest priority process will be put at the front end of the queue. When CPU becomes free, a process from the first position in a queue is selected for the execution. Now here let's see the example, the same example that we have considered till now. Here just one column we have added, that is the priority for each and every process. Now what is the timeline chart? When we are drawing the timeline chart, we are considering that the small values for the priority means the higher priority of the process. Okay, so here the process P3 has the priority 0, that means the highest priority that will be assigned to the P3. Then next highest priority, that is P2, and then next highest priority, that is P1. So let's draw the timeline chart for this. So first of all, start with the 0. Now at the time interval 0, no any other process is that, just one process is that is process P0. Okay, so P0 will go for the execution. Now P0 is there in the execution. So when P0 is in the execution, all the process has arrived. You can see the timeline, the time that required for this process P0 is 10. Got it? So when it completes its execution, P1, P2, P3 has arrived. So now what we will do, we will arrange this process in the sorted order based on the priority. So now which process will go for the execution? The lowest priority, highest priority process will be go for the execution. So here P3 has the highest priority, that you can see. So P3 has the 0 priority, that means it has the highest priority. Here we are considering the smallest number, that means the highest priority. That's why P3 will go for the execution. So it will complete its execution. After that P2 will go for the execution and it will complete its execution. Here you can see it required just 2 milliseconds for the execution. Okay, so it required just 2 milliseconds for the execution. That means just it required 14 to 16 milliseconds time. After that P1, so P1 will go for the execution for the 6 milliseconds. So again at the end we are able to execute all the processes based on the non-preemptive priority scheduling. Now here let's find out the average waiting time and average turnaround time for each and every processes. So first of all, find out the finish time for each and every process. How to find out the finish time? You just have to look at this timeline chart, and using this timeline chart you are able to find out the finish time for each and every process. So for the process P0, the finish time is what? 10. For process P1, finish time is 22. For process P2, the finish time is 16, and for process P3, the finish time is 14. Okay, now you have to find out the turnaround time. So how to find out this turnaround time? You have to minus the arrival time from the finish time. So you are able to find out the turnaround time. Okay, so here the finish time is 10 and arrival time is 0 for the process P0. So its turnaround time is 10. Same way for the process P1, finish time is 22 and its arrival time is 1. So its turnaround time is 21. So likewise you can find out this for process P2 and P3. And then you have to find out this waiting time. Okay, so waiting time, how we are able to find out? You have to minus this burst time from the turnaround time. So you are able to find out the waiting time for each and every process. So here turnaround time for the process P0 is 10 and burst time for the process P0 is again 10. So 10 minus 10, it is 0. So likewise, you can find out this waiting time for each and every process, that is for P1, P2 and P3. So now you have the turnaround time and waiting time for each and every process. So now it is easy to find out the average waiting time and average turnaround time. So here you can see this average turnaround time and average waiting time for each and every process. You just have to add this 4 waiting time for each and every process and divide it by 4, and you will get the answer. That will be the average turnaround time and average waiting time. Now, what are the advantages of this non-preemptive priority scheduling? Okay, so advantages, that is easy to use the scheduling method. Okay, and processes are executed on the basis of the priority. So high priority process does not need to wait for the longer time. It offers the low scheduling overhead. Okay, because we are not doing the context switching more and more over here. Then tends to offer the high throughput, and it is conceptually very simple method. Now these are the disadvantage of the non-preemptive priority scheduling. Disadvantages: starvation is possible for the low priority processes. Why? Because it can be overcome by using the technique called aging. Why the starvation is possible for low priority process? Because every time if the high priority process will come, then every time low priority process has to wait. Okay, so every time that process will go in waiting, etc. Okay, so that process will not get chance for the execution. So what we can do for such type of process? We can use one type of technique that is known as the aging. Now what is this aging? Aging, that means what? Aging, that means it's gradually increase the priority of the process that wait in the system for a long time. Okay, so every time one process will execute, maybe we are increasing the priority of that process using that 0.1%. Okay, 0.2%. Likewise, you can select the criteria for increasing the priority of the process. So based on that, that priority will be increased of that particular process, and that process will get chance for the execution. So this is the solution for the starvation in the priority scheduling. And another disadvantage is what? The poor response time for the processes. Why? Because if the low priority process is there in the execution and it has the longest burst time, and if any high priority process will come and again it has the smallest burst time, still that process have to wait for the longer time, because the low priority process with the longest burst time is there in the execution. So poor response time for the processes. Now next is a preemptive priority scheduling, exactly reverse of the non-preemptive. Selection criteria, again it has the high priority process will go for the execution, and decision mode is preemptive. That means if any high priority process comes and if any low priority process is there in the execution, then low priority process will be preempted and high priority process will go for the execution. Implementation again is based on the shorted FIFO queue. All the processes in the queue are sorted based on the priority, with the highest priority process at the front end. Now again we are taking the same example. Okay, timeline chart, and again here we are considering the small values for the priority, means the higher priority for the process. So now let's start with the time 0. At the time 0 we don't have any process except process P0. So till the time 1, because at the time interval 1 another process comes, that is P1. So till time 1 P0 will go for the execution. Okay, now at time 1 P1 has arrived, and here you can see its priority is what? 4. So here you can see P1 has the priority 4 and P0 has the priority 5. So here we are considering the lowest value, that means the highest priority. So P0 will be preempted and P1 will go for the execution. So here P1 is go for the execution. Again, when P1 completes its execution till 3 milliseconds, another process will come that is P2, and it has the priority that is 2. So P2 has the highest priority. So now P2 will go for the execution and P1 will be preempted. Okay, now P2 completes its execution because its burst time is just 2 milliseconds. So now when it completes its execution, another process P3 comes which has the highest priority, that is 0. So that means the P3 has the highest priority. So this P3 will go for the execution now. So here you can see it completes its execution. Its burst time is 4. So it completes its execution. And after that, we have the remaining process, that is P0 and P1. Okay. So now, which has the highest priority? Process P1 has the highest priority among these two. So process P1 will go for the execution. So here P1 will complete its task. And after that, P0 will go for the execution and it completes its task. So this is the timeline chart for the preemptive priority scheduling. Now again, let's find out the average waiting time and average turnaround time for this. The process is same. How to find out the finish time? Again, you have to see the timeline chart, and according to timeline chart, you are able to find out the finish time for each and every process. So for the P0, the finish time is 22. For P1, finish time is 13. And for P2, finish time is 5. So likewise, you can find the finish time for each and every process. After that, turnaround time. So how you are able to find out the turnaround time? You have to minus the arrival time from the finish time. So you will get the turnaround time for each and every process. So here you can see the finish time for the process P0 is 22 and its arrival time is 0. And it gets the response at the time 0. So again, its turnaround time is what? 22, because 22 minus 0, that means 22. Same way you can find out for P1, P2 and P3. After that, you have to find out the waiting time for each and every process. Okay, so how you are able to find out the waiting time? You have to minus burst time from the turnaround time. So you will get the waiting time for each and every process. So here for the process P0, turnaround time is 22 and its burst time is 10. So you have to minus 10 from the 22. So 22 minus 10, you will get the answer 12. So likewise, you have to find out for P1, for P2 and for P3. So now we have all the values for the turnaround time and waiting time for each and every process. So now you are able to find out the average turnaround time and average waiting time. So here you can see you just have to add the string and divide it by 4. So you will get the answer 10 milliseconds for the average turnaround time and 4.5 milliseconds for the average waiting time. Okay, so this is the preemptive priority scheduling example. Now what are the advantages of this? Okay, so advantages, that means the preemptive scheduling method is more robust approach. So one process cannot monopolize the CPU. Okay, only one process will not go for the execution for longest time. Okay, choice of the running task reconsidered after each interruption. Then the operating system makes sure that CPU uses is the same by all the running processes. Now, next advantage is what? In this, the uses of the CPU is same for each and every process. For example, all the running process will make the use of CPU equally. Okay. And the scheduling method also improves the average response time. Here you can see in this previous example that we have taken. We have taken the same example for each and every scheduling algorithm. So here you can see it improves the average response time for each and every process. Then preemptive scheduling is the beneficial when we use it for the multi-programming environment. Now what are the disadvantages of this? Again, the starvation is possible for the low priority process and that we can solve using the aging technology that we have discussed in the non-preemptive. And context switch overhead is here because we are switching the process every time. That's why, because if any high priority process will come, we will switch the low priority process, and it happens to the low priority process every time, because if any high priority process come, it has to stop its execution. Okay, so that is the disadvantage of this preemptive scheduling. So summary of this lecture, we have learned about the priority scheduling, in which we have learned two types of priority scheduling, that is preemptive priority scheduling and non-preemptive priority scheduling. So this is all about this lecture. Remaining interesting topic we will cover in the next lecture. Thank you for watching. Thank you.